Hello and welcome. We are doing the daily challenge for Creeper World 4 for December 1st, 2024. Here's a good look at the map real quick, and I'm going to say we're just going to kind of get into it. So really what I like to do first is I want to set up at least a few pylons early on, just to get some power generation passive. And then I'm going to try to build at least one miner pretty early to get that power going. And as soon as that's done, I will then plant essentially my guns. So we should be good now. So we'll do 3 guns here. I want to get one more pylon there. And as you can see, that gun's just gonna be too close. So it is okay. We'll try one more gun. Move that one there just to cover. We will try to get one more tower built. Cool. Alright, we'll spread those out. We're going to put a gun over here, and then the next thing is let's try to get another miner going. I want to try to get enough power production pretty quick. The next thing we want to look at is they do have blob launchers. So I do want to try to get to this red ore pretty quick. Honestly, I might just be able to just build on over to it. We're going to put one more turret right there just to hold guard. Well, that's going to be able to keep up. We're going to build another miner in that spice. We are gaining power, and it looks like we're able to store some, so that's great. That being said, we are getting close. So let's get a sniper going, because once they start really launching stuff at us, we have to kind of be ready for anything. And I think that should be okay. We'll get a second one just in case, but we also need to be watching and paying attention to this creep right now. As you can see, it's getting a little bit closer. We do want to hold off this edge. Essentially, if we can cut it off from going in here at all, that would be perfect for us. Alright, so we're stopping skimmers. That's down, but that's okay, because we can get this turret over there to block that. The other thing we want to look at doing is I want to populate this area up here. So let's see. I can get a turret there, or I can get a tower there. And then with that being built, I can also, or with that being gained, we are now getting red on, which gives us the ability to produce ARG, which is what we need for our missiles. So we're going to get 2 missiles set up. This looks pretty populated. As you can see, we just lost that one. So we're going to put another turret here. Let's build a few mortar cannons. They're super useful early on. Just they have such a good AoE clear that it's hard to argue against not building them ever. All right, so as you saw there, we did have a blob get through, which means we need to kind of focus up on stopping those early. To do this, I'm going to build a few more sniper perches. I'm also going to make sure this has a good amount of mortars and some turrets to stop the creep waves from coming up and taking it out, but it looks like it's going to take out all of the work I just put in. So no worries, we will start over. It's going to be lost. We'll try to move it down. Not enough time, but that is all right. We keep dipping into energy usage, so we do have to kind of focus on that. What I can do to remedy that is it looks like I can build maybe 2 miners up here. These skimmers worry me because if they do stop this front line of defense early on, it's going to be able to take out pretty much all of the progress that we've put into this. So, we're going to try to do this again. As you can see, that wave is coming right now. Looks like that one's not going to be too big, but this second one that's coming up is going to be a problem. So, let's get our turrets set up here. I'm going to leave the totem for right now. I don't want to worry about powering it. We'll look at maybe building a rocket. So we'll want to kind of keep as much of our lithic as possible. But it's unknown for right now. Who knows how this is going to play out. Alright, so now I'm going to start building my web. Each one of these is going to provide, each one of these towers is going to provide a little bit of power to us. So what I essentially am doing is I just want to start, kind of completely covering what I own. I want to make sure that we're getting as much power generation as possible, and we can kind of get a really good set foothold on everything. So what we're doing, so I've got two things I can kind of look at doing right now. I can look at starting to attack from here, now that I have refineries. I can look at trying to move up through here and going in. Or my next bet might be to try to move in through here, build a beacon, and try to nullify this stuff, these four options, pretty quick. That's going to get rid of a lot of emission. This is going to get rid of all those spores. And then this will give me an ability to kind of cut through. The big goal that I'm looking for overall is I want to get onto this, and I want to clear off the creep from it and put anti-creep. For those who don't know, as you can see right here, every few seconds or so, it will produce more of whatever resources on top of it. So as you can see right now, it's producing a lot of creep, but if we're able to get anti-creep on there, it's going to start producing that and pushing it out. Honestly, it becomes a huge, easy game winner. Super fast, so anytime we can do that, anytime you get a map where that's pretty much accessible early on, really want to focus on doing that. To get anti-creep, we want to be looking at mining blueite from these resource patches. But for right now, I'm going to worry more about getting power from them, just until we can fully flesh all that out and have enough backup to make sure that we can power everything without losing it all, essentially. If power starts going down in one place, there's a good chance that we start getting pushed out everywhere. The other thing I was looking at is coming out from this angle. So now that I have the refinery, I can start getting the greenar, which will then be turned into lithic. With that lithic, I can build a platform right here, which would allow me to provide power over to that side. And honestly, it doesn't sound like a terrible idea. Really, the only resource I gain from going that way, though, is going to be that redon. And I don't know if that's going to be super helpful right now. We do have a lot being stored in our missile silo. Not as much as I'd like, but still a good amount. So it's not like we're very hungry on that. Really, what's taking us out right now are the blobs. So I think pushing and focusing on that's going to be our next big goal. So, in the pursuit of that, what we're going to do is let's build some more towers up here front and center. Let's get this turret moved up. Let's get this mortar going so it can start firing that way. Now that we have this front line of power, I'm going to move these turrets up. And then we're going to move these mortars behind them. Keep grabbing the missile launcher. We're going to move these mortars up behind them to increase that essentially damage output. With that being done, we're going to go over here to special, and we're going to build a beacon. What a beacon does is it's going to affect this black area that we can't do anything with. What it's going to allow us to do is turn that into this lit area, and we can start damaging it that way. really useful to help push in to get that. So for example, as you can see right now, it is like that dark purple black. We can't do anything. Once we move this up here, once it lands, you're going to see that this is going to become illuminated, and now we can start really doing damage to that. So what we're going to do, let's build a few more mortars. I also want to keep an eye on what's going on here. If that starts waving up too much, it will come up the sides and start damaging us. And the turrets really can't fire down off of cliffs super efficiently. So we're going to use mortars to kind of launch up and down, or up and over to those cliffs. So as you can see there, they clear that off pretty much immediately. So we're going to place some more power. Like I said, we just want to make sure that we're having a good kind of coverage of power overall, just to prevent any, just to gain as much as we possibly can. Very early on, it's about managing power usage and being able to get a good foothold and cut off, if you can, the creep from really overtaking the map too quick. I think overall we have a really good start, and I think from here we can start really getting into it. So we're going to just set up a bunch of mortars. They're going to start really clearing out this area. Well, that's going on there. We're going to place another pylon, or another tower. We're going to move these turrets up. And honestly, we're probably going to build a few more. What I like to do is, if I'm going to put a bunch there, I like to build usually my weapons over in a safe spot and then move them over there to avoid them being stopped while being built. Because if I try to just build it right now, we have to go through the process of it getting all the supplies to it, and if any of that creep ends up reaching it, it'll just stop the whole process. So what we're going to do is we'll just build it back over here in the safe spot, and then we're going to go from there. All right, so as you can see, we have an urn port, and we have 4 available, 4 buried. So right now we just have 4 of them available, and then 4 more that we can gain throughout. What I like to use it on immediately is energy and mine production. That's going to affect, obviously, our energy miners, but also our refineries and any excavation like the Red-On, stuff like that. So anytime we can get that early on, that's the goal. As you can see, it is building up efficiency. It just makes it to where you're not switching back and forth all the time to kind of min-max. It just is more efficient to kind of set it down and let it hold. So that's what we're going to do. The other thing we're going to look at doing is probably fire rate and range. Right now, build speed and move speed aren't too particularly important to me at this time. But in the future, once we get the other ones, we will fill those out. All right. The other part, so as you can see, we have moved up here a little bit. So we're going to just keep pushing this advantage. Once again, we're going to get our mortars up here. We're going to just make sure we're kind of getting as much damage as we can pushed in. We're going to move our beacon up here. We don't want to move it too close, but we also want to make sure that we're able to do stuff with it. And as you can see, I'm just kind of walking up. I'm grabbing an item, I'm putting up a tower, and then I'm moving my items up. And I'm just going to keep doing that cycle over and over again in order to keep things moving, essentially. Don't know what happened over here, so we got to be careful. So this is one of those skimmers. It got over here and pretty much nullifies everything for a good 3-4 seconds. And sometimes it feels like it's 6 days. So we have to be very careful about that. What I am going to do is I'm going to bring this down here so it can start kind of holding out that line. And then we need to start moving our snipers up here. These blobs and these skimmers are getting a little bit too close for comfort. So I want to make sure that we're kind of manning the best defense. So I'm going to move my items up, put a tower. And right now, as you can see, that sniper is hitting all of these eggs. Every little bit, the spore launcher will just launch out eggs. And what those eggs can do is once you get close and clear out the creep, they can explode and create more creep. They can also be dragged by blobs, which we saw a little bit earlier over here. And once those blobs explode, they'll leave that plume of creep there. So what we're doing is we're trying to shoot those all down right now while we can hold out. All right, so next step, we're going to, once again, put some more towers. Step up a little bit. All right, so now we are on this dark tower. We have a good amount of clearance up here from the creep. It's not super encroaching. And what we're going to do is this is a perfect time and place to put up a nullifier. This nullifier has to be made and created where it's going to be. I can't build it over here and then move it over there. It has to be built here. What it's going to do is once it's fully powered up and fully has its resources, it's going to nullify the tower. We're going to use this on the dark tower, these emitters, these spore launchers, the skimmer factory. We're going to use it on all of those. We don't nullify the stash at all, but once there's not creep moving into this, it will stop working overall. As you can see right now, creep is going into it, so it is building up slowly, and once it hits that 2,000 mark, it is going to crash back down. It's going to create this giant wave of creep that's going to kind of really push out. So as you can see, we've got our nullifier going. It's destroyed that, it's nullified the dark tower, which means all of this is back to light purple, which means we don't need our beacon as much. What we're going to do with that is we're now going to push into those, and I want to disable these two items. This emitter is pushing out 40 creep every half second, so if we can get that turned down, it's definitely going to bring our creep level down a little bit. Right now, we're a little bit under 60k worth of creep on the map, so anytime we can just slowly start lowering that down, it's going to be great. I'm looking around right now, so I guess let's get started on that step overall. So let's get this up here. Once again, I'm planting towers and I'm walking up. As you can see, the turrets have a little bit of health base on them. So what you can do is, if you need to, you can essentially put them in the creep and hope that they hold out. In certain scenarios, you could take a stack of weapons, bring them over and drop them into a spot of creep and have them clear it out a little bit, but they're going to end up dying if they don't have power, or if the creep is too overpowering, it's not going to be able to survive. So it's kind of sometimes it can be a big gamble with your resources, but overall it's not too big of a deal. So what we're also going to do, we built a sniper here because we saw a blob go through. We're also building a turp. A turp allows us to terraform, to level things out if we want to, make areas taller, lower, whatever. It's also going to start mining this buried urn. Once this buried urn is mined, it becomes available again, and we can then use it on these two items. So we still have two more of them buried. As you can see, we've got one there and one there. And we'll need to clear this area of creep in order for our turp to even mine it. So that being said, let's also get a few more miners here. Miners don't have to fully be on. As you can see, they show in looks like, I think it's by a 3x4 grid of how much it's actually able to mine and what's not being mined. So this one's got one row of non-mined but two mined, if that makes sense. We're going to plant that there. We're just going to try to get as much power generation as possible, because pretty soon here we're going to have kind of a line of weapons going that we're going to want to hold with. The other thing I'm going to try to look at doing is I want to get something set up here on this plateau that I can then fire down and essentially cut all this off of. If I can cut this off, I can then move down, take out this emitter, and then all of this creep will just slowly start to die, which I think is going to be our best bet for over there. I could move this way if there were a little bit more resources, like a little bit more of like the blue energy patches, stuff like that, I'd look at doing that, but really right now it's not super worth doing that. The other thing we can look at doing is we can also build air items. So we've got runways for bombers, AC bombers, which are anti-creep bombers, and then we can also build a rocket. The bombers we will be able to set up to where they could fly over and bomb just patches, which gets rid of creep for us. The anti-creep, kind of the same thing. Instead of destroying it, it just drops anti-creep, which over time builds up and can really help take out an area. The other one that we have is a rocket. Takes 500 energy to build, and then it will be powered by lithic, and once it gets filled up, it'll launch a rocket up, and we have access to a few new modes of being able to do damage. So we will see what we're looking at doing for this map, but I think for right now we're just going to try to push up. I do want to get these taken care of very soon. So let's walk up. We're going to start kind of moving here. Let's get that put there. We want to move this mortar forward, this one as well, and we can move this cannon here. So as you can see, these have just been going, and they've pretty much kind of helped clear this patch out for us, which is exactly what we wanted. Let's move this turret down here. And as you can see, those eggs, once they kind of get exposed to the air, essentially, they are going to start exploding to try to get more creep spread. But with the amount of turrets that we have going on them, it's really not going to do much. We're also going to move these up here, just so we can really start to be doing damage to a lot at once. That skimmer just landed there. We'll see if that can hold out. It probably will, so we'll be fine. What we can do, let's get a nullifier. We're going to try to nullify both of these at the same time. But as you can see, creep got a little bit close to it, so it did get destroyed. So we're going to try this again with another turret up here to hopefully hold that back enough for us to get those going. Let's try again. And then while that's happening, let's grab more towers here. We're going to build 2 mortars over here just to help destroy that. Right now, as you can see, this turret is kind of being held up on all of this. So with these, we should be able to kind of overpower that. Perfect. And then we can get a foothold there. So now that that's cleared out, we're not having to focus on it as much. We can now move up here. As you can see, we lost a little bit of health, but they are going to gain that back. So that's going to be great for us. And yeah, as you can see, we're getting into it. That nullifier worked on both of those. So that's going to stop emitting, which is going to stop as much creep from happening, which means we can move in a little bit more. Our next option, or our next kind of target is going to be that spore launcher. So let's look at moving up into there. The biggest thing is I always want to have a front line pushing forward. The more I can do to get there faster, the better it's going to be. Because as you can see, earlier when we were talking about this platform, it was just barely cresting. But now, since there's no damage being done to this, it is just accumulating. And even though we did nullify one of the emitters, we're still at about the same level of creep. We've destroyed a good amount, but since other places are able to just pile up without us stopping it, it's not doing too much just yet. This is going to then turn around very fast once we're able to hit these big points. Once I get up here and I start mortaring into this, we're going to watch this level actively fall very fast. Alright, so then we have that main. So let's get towers there, and then we can probably move some of these turrets down. There's a lot of these that are set up back here that at a certain point we can move forward. I do constantly want to have some defense around our main nexus, our Rift Lab, but in order to kind of maximize our resource usage, we want to kind of constantly be moving stuff up. I am personally a player that builds a bunch of stuff, but I've seen people who have played through the game only using like 3 or 4 cannons and a few mortars. And it's a strategic way of playing, which I enjoy watching, just not for me specifically. All right, so we are making progress. We're building more towers. We're walking up, moving all of this forward. So this is going to be, once again, a little bit of a hard part. And as you can see, like I said, it doesn't like trying to fire uphill. So with all that creep that was sitting right here, it just constantly was unable to do much with it. But that's okay. We'll build some more real quick. This is going to hurt us because I just moved the sniper as that came in. So we're actually going to kind of be put back a little bit from all this. And really, it's not great for us. If those can hold out, it'd be great. But no worries. Let's move a cannon over here. Let's move the mortar over here. This cannon can get moved up again. We're going to build a few more cannons here. Let's get our towers set back up. It did push us back a little bit, and that was just because planning-wise, I moved things at the exact wrong time too. So let's focus on a few more sniper towers just to prevent anything else from getting by our defenses too much. Let's move our turrets up. Alright, it's getting a little bit close on that one. I get worried about losing too many early on. But as you can see, these snipers have been going ham on this area. So it has destroyed pretty much all the eggs. A lot of that creep that was contained in those we're able to eliminate and hold back. So that's great for us. Let's get these moved up. We'll get another mortar. And that's exposed, so let's spread these cannons out a little bit more. We don't need them on top of each other once we've kind of held the creep back this much. If we were trying to go, let's say, right through here, we would try to do it a different way. But since we do have kind of a long line of creep that we're holding back, we can spread these out without any real big issue. Let's get this cannon moved up. Let's plant him there. We did lose a cannon, but we got our nullifier off, so we're not going to get any more spore launches or eggs being made, which is a huge help. And we're gonna continue doing our process. Build some towers, step up. Build some towers, step up. We just keep getting closer to this island. And then, what we can also do, we are getting close, so I'm going to leave him here for right now. But let's get a few mortars built, just so we can start, as you can see, like this one, firing over, getting a lot of damage done. My goal is to get enough damage from these mortars so that I can move this cannon up into this. If we can get it up there, it should be enough to hold back the creep while I get a nullifier. And as you can see with the skimmers, we did lose that nullifier on this side. So we're gonna move these snipers up, prevent them from hitting us again with that. And we're gonna start another nullifier build, which immediately gets destroyed. Just sometimes the way the creep reacts, it just happens to get by all the defenses. So let's try again.
With that sniper being there, it's really not working right. Okay. So let's see if they can hold out there for a second. And like I was trying to do, these mortars doing enough damage that it's pretty much negating all the emitter. So what we can do is I can probably move him up here. And he is going to be able to... He should be able to stop all of the creep that's being pushed out by both of these. If they can hold for a second, what I can do is I can get a nullifier right here. There's just a little bit too much creep still getting through, so I'll wait. I'm trying to get both of them at the same time, but really I could get one at a time without having to play this balancing act. So let's build a few more cannons. But once again, I try to build them in a line. If you press and hold G and drag down in any direction, it will create a line of those items. I just think it's easier, find a flat, clear spot, build a line of them, and then you can kind of select from there. Alright, so those snipers are putting in work. They're stopping all of the stuff from the skimmer factory from getting to us, which is fantastic. There's one more blob nest that we're having to contend with, but really, once we get those taken care of, we should be golden path. Once the skimmer's done, all of our turrets will just be focused on eggs and blobs, so we don't have anything to worry about. So let's try our nullifier one more time. I want to place him, that turret there. I don't know if it's going to be able to hold up. It's not, but that was mainly because I didn't have any power going to it. So let's try it again. And let's see. It's going to get down to 3. Got down to 3, but it was able to hold. It's going to be really rough when this emits. So we are kind of on limited time with that. So let's build a nullifier. Let's see if we can hold out. We're not going to be able to, but that's okay. Let's see about getting this cannon there. And maybe 2 mortars. Do 2 mortars. While that's being built, we can move all of these up. Cannon, cannon, cannon. And really the only hard part about that's going to come from this specific setup is once this comes down, it is going to create a pretty big wave that we're going to have to really keep an eye on. I am committed at this point to getting this with 1 nullifier, so we're going to keep trying. Essentially, sometimes you just really have to kind of hard focus on getting something done. If it doesn't work, obviously we can just do 1 at a time, but at a certain point, it's doable. It's just really making sure that we have enough damage to stop everything else. So that turret's gone. But once this gets power, if this can hold that back, we should be golden. So those are stopped. That's going to help us with a lot. And as you can see, you've probably been following along. We've gotten our creep down to 30k. So we've already knocked essentially 30k off. If we hit this, that's going to take out a bunch. Once we get this emitter done, the only one that's left is this one over here. And that'll be very nice as well. So, as you can see, it's really nullifying a lot. What we can also do is, now that we have a lot more of a good foothold over here, let's move all of our mortars over to this side, where they can just start bombing all of this. It's really going to help eliminate a lot of that creep. As you can see, the stash has stopped working because it's not getting its supply of creep anymore. So no more, I say that as it does it,
it really shouldn't have any more waves after that. Once it's down to 0, it's not going to be able to produce any more or store any more of that potential power. So let's get our power wall going. We're going to move all of these up. Let's get our mortar in. We can move this more into the attack position. That skimmer is unfortunate. It's probably going to take out 1 or 2 of these. It did take out 1 cannon, but that's okay. We can move this over and really start pushing it back. This sniper is just going to keep hitting the eggs that are coming out of here. These eggs that we have collected right here. Those. And anytime a skimmer comes out, it's going to eliminate it. Over on this side of the map, we have gotten a lot of good coverage. Let's get 1 more of those, and then we can start with these mortars. It should have the range to get, so both these do have the range. They're going to start bombing this. If we can get a lot of this creep destroyed, gaining this upper hand here will not be hard enough. In order to do that, we're going to start prepping our setup up there. So what I was saying earlier is if you do kind of set up an area where you're kind of sending units to a very creep infested area, if you don't have the power to keep them, they're just going to get destroyed. So what we're going to do is we have a bunch right there. There's no creep up there anyway, so it's not going to matter too much. Let's move all of these items up onto this base. And this will essentially just be a stronghold for us. The other thing that we've been doing, as you can see, we have a lot of pylons, a lot of towers out here. What we can do is we can move to pylons. These are going to move items a lot faster than towers, and it's going to make it to where these long distances that all this stuff is traveling, as you can see all of this, it's going to make it go a lot faster. So let's create a line here, and they do stretch pretty far, but let's create a good healthy supply line all the way over so that we're kind of getting as much power and resources up here as possible. And really we've hit the point of the map where now we're kind of running cleanup crew. The creep has lost its foothold completely, and we're just going to start really cutting it down. So we can get a nullifier on this pretty much immediately, no big issue. This cannon is going to be working on all of this residual creep. Let's get one. Sorry, the way these work. Let's get 1 cannon over here, 1 mortar. And then we can get a nullifier on this pretty much immediately as well. There's 1 egg hanging out, so when that blows up, it'll be a little wave of creep, but after that, it'll be fine. And that's nullified, so let's move our cannons up here. And creep will dry out over time. Essentially, it's a very liquidy. So if we just were to, say, hold it right here, over the course of 10-15 minutes, it's going to dry itself up. And we'll be fine. But we have the time, we have the resources. Let's just kind of push it ourselves. We're going to move these over here. And once I have an area cleared out, and if we don't have the threat of more... If we don't have the threat of more missiles and stuff like that being launched at us, we can leave these areas pretty empty. There's really not a huge way that creep is going to build up over here anymore, especially not with... If there were eggs like there was this one bouncing over here, we'd have to worry about it. But at this point, I would say we're pretty much done in a way. This is going to get cleared out pretty quick. We're just going to keep walking these up here.
while that's taking care of that, we can really start pushing in on this side. One area that I'm going to focus on pretty heavily is going to be this spawn. If we can get the creep off of there, it's going to stop producing, and that's really going to make it useful for us just to get rid of all that extra stuff being spawned. And as you can see, each one of these waves is a combination of this being emitted and these sprouting up. So if we can just push this down enough, we're going to be golden. But as you can see, we're not creating any more units. We are just moving the current ones that we have up and enclosing around all of the remaining creep. All this stuff is on its way out, so we'll move these up. We can move these cannons up here, or these mortars up here, and really start destroying all this. As you can see, there's just a little bit of creep left on that. We'll keep it for now because what you'll see is, even if there's a little bit, it's enough for it to start spawning. Once the creeps covers the rest of the spawn, it'll produce more of itself. So you really have to make sure that we are cutting out all of that residual. Got that there. Let's get a nullifier on this, a nullifier on that. There is an egg there, so we need to be aware because it is going to pop like that, but that's okay. So we're gonna try that one more time. If I can get the spot right, there we go. Let's get a nullifier on that as well. And then, as you can see, we've got a few eggs left right there. We are going to put these snipers here. They're going to start firing at it. And what we can do is just hold back that last wall of creep. Let's get a Turp in here so that we can get these last little beats of Urn. It's not going to provide us too much more, but it's always nice to have a few extra items. As you can see, it is drying up. Let's just expedite that process. Move these up here. And without them being connected to power, they are going to use resources. But if it's this light, it's going to be able to shoot its way clear of everything without too many resources being needed. We're going to get a cannon over here so we can get this last little bit of creep. And then to power this, we're just going to make a nice quick trip over here. Instead of it going all the way up and around, which it is doing because we didn't build them fast enough. So with that totem's active, we've just got this last little bit of creep. As you can see, we are down to 50 creep left. And if we just sit here, we're not even shooting at it. It is just burning itself off. And really, we have... Sounds like we've beat this scenario. Let's get power to this last totem. It's going to activate our last little thing. Get the last creep done. It says we still have 16 creep remaining. I see a little bit right here. So see if we can get that cleared up, and let's see what that gets us down to. That didn't take care of anything. This is our last little bit right here. For that, we are able to get a pylon over to it, so that's the other thing. Pylons are great for long distance. So let's get these mortars moved over, and they're going to start launching, and they should be able to clear that up really quick. And that's it. There's one creep remaining. As much as I'd love to be a perfectionist, it's right there. I don't know if the cannons are going to be smart enough, or the mortars are going to be smart enough to get that. Let's build a cannon just to see. But if not, I would be willing to accept going from 60k creep to literally 1. So that's all of our goals completed. We're going to rift jump. We're going to end the match. Give us our stats. Did it about an hour and 21 minutes. I played at double speed, so obviously it's not that long. We did get all of our totems, and then we also reclaimed a certain portion.
Did that about, what is that? About 15 minutes earlier than when we fully finished out. So we're good. Honestly, I don't know where I sit on the leaderboard for a lot of these things. So that's one of those things that doesn't really matter to me. I am more interested in just getting everything taken care of. But yes, thanks for watching. This has been an episode of Creeper World 4. We've completed the daily mission of December 1st, 2024, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.